The annual Road to Majority Conference is underway in Washington, D.C., hosted by the Faith and Freedom Coalition. It features Republican lawmakers and other prominent conservatives looking to motivate voters ahead of the 2026 midterm elections. Our next guest was the keynote speaker and had this to say about President Trump.
President Trump isn't going to be president forever, and he knows that. That's why he's working at a breakneck speed right now to fix what's wrong in our country and what's wrong in our world. He understands his God-given purpose. But here's the question, do you understand yours?
Joining us now, Dr. Robert Jeffris, the senior pastor at First Baptist Church in Dallas and a Fox News contributor. Give us a sense, sir, of the emotion, the motivation at that coalition conference.
I have been coming to these conferences for years, John, and I have never seen as much excitement as there was this year. And it's all because of President Trump and what he's been able to achieve in the last 6 months. No president has done more than President Trump has. And of course, we can all point to different things, immigration, taxation. But the thing I'm most excited about is what he has done to ensure the freedom of religion, which our founding fathers said is the first freedom of all Americans. And having lived through the dark days of the Biden era, when Joe Biden or somebody working for him weaponized government to be used against conservative churches, including my church, I think it's important for us to help President Trump codify religious liberty in our law so that no future administration, whenever the president does leave office, whether it's in 2028 and 2032, we don't want some future administration weaponizing the IRS and other government agencies like Joe Biden did.
Yeah, we did a voter analysis of what happened in the latest election with President Trump versus, Trump 45, if you will. He was up 2% among women, 3% among men, 6% among the non-college educated, 6% among Hispanics, 7% up among black voters, and 10% up among young voters. Do those numbers surprise you?
No, they don't surprise me at all. And here's why. I said this morning, President Trump does not have a Messiah complex. He doesn't believe he came to save America from her sins, but he did come to save America from her insanity. And I think the left had gone so far to the extremes that common sense people said, I can't put up with this anymore. And I think President Trump continues to garner the support of Americans because he's a common sense president. And that's why so many people at this conference are so excited about him, not only at the conference, but in America today.
Well, you say that, and yet the people of New York appear to be ready to elect a Democrat socialist to be their mayor, Zoran Mamdani. We've been reporting on it over the last couple of hours and couple of days. Can you explain that? If people are coming to their senses in this country, explain the Mamdani situation.
Well, there will always be a segment of nuts in any society, and I think they're going to continue to become more and more of a minority. But I think when you see President Trump building a coalition of Hispanics, I have many Hispanic members in our church at First Baptist Dallas. They love President Trump, and I think the polls show Hispanics are supporting him. Black voters, so many black voters were at our conference this weekend. I think he's going to continue to build a coalition as he continues to achieve so much for America and really for the world.
The House Speaker, Mike Johnson, seems to agree with you. He says movement is afoot. Listen.
Look, something was happening from California to New York, New Jersey, Florida, wherever I was. We were going to these events and we were having the traditional crowds, but we were having others come into the camp as well. I mean, all these different demographics, and they came into the party. Listen, here's the key. They came into the party not reluctantly, but with hopeful anticipation.
And you seem hopeful as well, Pastor Jeffress.
I am very hopeful. And look, God didn't create government to save the country. He created government to protect our citizens against evildoers and protect people's right to worship God. That's it. And I think President Trump is delivering on his promises. He's going to continue to have success after success. And I really do believe his experience in Butler, Pennsylvania, galvanized in his mind that God has a purpose for him, just as he does for each one of us.
Yeah, an inch the other direction, and we might not have him today. Pastor
That's
Robert
right.
Jeffris, we appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.